Ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, Andy here. I want to give you guys a little bit of a cheat code when it comes to people maybe rejecting you or being a little bit harsh with you or having a bit of a confrontation or yelling at you or any of that sort of stuff. So I had a coaching client, one of my coaching clients, and he was talking about a confrontation that he had with a woman. And it was an ex of his, and they were basically talking something out, and she sort of I'll try and be charitable here. She basically completely and utterly misunderstood what he was trying to say, and she took it in the most negative light possible, and she got really angry, she got really upset, and he was taking that very personally. He tried to do his best, he tried to be compassionate and kind and all of that, but he came back to us, the coaching group, and he's like, "Guys, I'm really upset. I tried really hard to be nice to her. I tried not to upset her. We were trying to talk something through, and it felt like everything I said to her, she just took it in the least charitable way possible. And it was like I was a bad person. I was just being completely misunderstood. She didn't really want to know my thoughts or feelings. She was just convinced that I was bad." And he felt a lot of guilt. He felt a lot of frustration. He felt like he was misunderstood. He felt a lot of emotions. And I gave him this cheat code that I'm going to give all of you, which you can use basically anytime someone is angry at you or upset with you or pissed off or they reject you or they hurt you or any of that. And I said to him, here's something that's helped me a lot in my life. Whenever someone else is feeling strong emotions or they're blaming me for something or they're saying I'm a bad person because this girl, this ex of his basically said that he was a bad person. Whenever I'm in that sort of situation, I like to add to the start of the sentence of what they're saying, I add in the words, "in my opinion." So, for instance, in this case, if someone says to me, "You always do this and you're such an asshole," I will insert the sentence or the couple of words, "in her opinion," or "in my opinion," "In my opinion, Andy, I think you always do this and I think you're an asshole." If you add in that "in my opinion" bit at the start, it takes a lot of the sting out of it because it's no longer this big, irrefutable truth. It's now just their opinion. She's literally just saying, "In my opinion, you always do this. In my opinion, you're an asshole." That doesn't mean I am an asshole. That is just her opinion. You can also use the sentence, "My emotions are telling me," as in, "My emotions are telling me that you always do this." Or, "My emotions are telling me you're an asshole." And so you just stick that sentence at the start of whatever someone is saying to you, even if they are literally in the middle of yelling at you and calling you a bad person and trying to guilt trip you and making you feel like shit and all of that. You literally just in your head say, "My emotions are telling me," and then whatever they're saying. Or you can say, "Their emotions are telling me blah, blah, blah." This person's emotions are telling me that I'm a bad person. But that's just their emotions. They're literally emotional right now. And I think we all kind of know that when someone is emotional, they're not very rational, are they? They're being emotional and sometimes hysterical. And so realizing that it's just their emotions talking, or it's their opinion, or you might say their ego, but it's their opinion or their emotions talking, it takes a lot of the pain out of it. You don't take it quite so seriously because you realize they're a human being who's emotional right now, and they're just telling you their opinion. That doesn't mean you have to take it on as fact and believe it. It is just their opinion. That takes a lot of that pain out of that statement because now you have a little bit of compassion for them. You're like, they're going through some emotions right now. Maybe I can be there for them during those emotions, or I can walk away, politely as you can. I can walk away and I can talk again when they're a little bit more rational or a little bit less emotional. Because really in that moment, when they're emotional, when they're telling you their opinion, they're really just telling you a story. They're telling you a story that, like in this example, where I said you always do this and you're an asshole, if that's what they're saying to you. That's just a story. They're telling a story that you always do this, and they're telling a story that you're an asshole. And there might be some evidence for that. They can probably offer you some evidence, but there might also be some evidence for the opposite. Like when someone says, "You always do this," if you can think of one time where you haven't done that, then it's not true that you always do this. And so they've told you a story that isn't necessarily entirely true. Or if they say, "You're an asshole," well, do you have anyone else in your life that says you're a kind person or you're the opposite of an asshole? That's some evidence to the contrary. That's evidence that you're not an asshole, that it's just a story that you're an asshole. And you could equally tell a story that you're a kind person. And this is what we did with my coaching client. I said, this woman is telling you that you're a bad person. Can you give us 3 reasons why, or 3 pieces of evidence why you're a good person? And he gave us 3. He's like, "I'm kind and compassionate, blah, blah, blah. Here's what I did to my friend. Here's something else that I did. Here's 3 pieces of evidence that I'm a kind person." And I was like, "Okay, brother, so she's telling you a story that you're an asshole. You're now telling us a story that you're a kind, compassionate person. Which one of those is true? And it's like, neither of them are true, or both of them are true, or it doesn't matter which one is true. They're just stories. And we can go gathering evidence that you're an asshole. We can gather tons of evidence that you're a kind person. And then we can debate which one of those is true. Both of them are true. Neither of them are true. It doesn't fucking matter. It's just stories. And humans are natural storytellers. We love to tell a story and then quickly gather evidence for it. That's called post hoc rationalization, by the way, where we have a narrative in our head, or we have an opinion in our head, or we have emotions in our head. We tell a story, and then we quickly hunt for evidence to try and prove our story. That's why if you look at people or pay attention to people when they argue or when there's a confrontation, they'll say a statement. They'll say like, you're a fucking asshole. And then the other person will say, no, I'm not. And then they'll quickly go, yes, you are. And then you can watch them like literally trying to figure out how you're an asshole. They're like, the other day, I asked you to do something for me and you didn't do it. See, you are an asshole. And then the person will give a story back and they'll go, no, remember when I did this thing for you? That was really nice. So I'm not an asshole. And then the other person will quickly go scrounging around. They'll go, no, well, here's this thing you did wrong again. And it's like they're trying to quickly come up with evidence for a story. It's like they've said the story. They've already said the conclusion, you're an asshole, or no, I'm not an asshole. And then they're quickly trying to gather the evidence to support that story. It's like the world's worst court case. It's like you showed up to court and the two lawyers are just arguing with each other and the judge is like, all right, present your evidence. And they're like, fuck, where's my evidence? Oh shit, I got to come up with the evidence. Fuck, where's my paperwork? And they're just like trying to figure out the evidence. It's like the least prepared defense ever. And that's how most human beings are, especially when we're emotional. And so guys, girls, when someone in the moment is yelling at you or confronting you or telling you that you're bad or trying to guilt trip you or trying to make you feel like shit or whatever it might be, in that moment, realize they're just being emotional. They're just sharing a story with you. They're just presenting an opinion. You don't have to take it on as fact. So many of you take on other people's opinion as if it's truth, as if it's some like irrefutable, immutable truth, like some objective fucking reality or something. Like you walk up to some girl on the street and you say, hi, you're cute. She says, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And you go, see, I am a piece of shit because she didn't want to date me. So therefore that means I'm undateable. Or maybe someone is even mean to you. Sometimes they get comments from you guys where you say, I hit on this girl, usually in a club, because sometimes in clubs, yes, women are not kind, and sometimes men in clubs are not kind because they're all on fucking drugs, guys and girls. They're on alcohol and 10 million other drugs. Yeah, people who are not sober are not always super fucking rational and nice. Who would have thought? But you'll tell a story or you'll post a comment and say, I hit on this girl. She was super mean to me. She told me I'm ugly. See, I knew I was ugly. And it's like, bro, why are you taking on her opinion? Why are you taking on her drug-fueled emotional state when she's clearly not in a good place? Because someone who's in a good place in their life doesn't call other people ugly. That's not kind or compassionate or loving or generous or gentle. It's the opposite of all of those things. It's very judgmental. She's clearly not in a good headspace. Why are you taking on that opinion? You're taking on the opinion of someone who's not rational, not sober, not in a good headspace, and not kind. Why are you believing that? But that's just what we do. We believe other people's stories, and we don't really have any say in that. We don't realize we're doing that until you sit down and actually have a think about it like this and use one of these cheat codes of like, that's just her opinion, or that's just her emotions, or that's just her fucking story. And again, anytime any of you feel rejected or hurt or offended or angry or sad or anything from what someone else has said or done to you, go away, take some space, and come up with 3 reasons why the opposite might be true. Someone tells you you're ugly. Come up with 3 reasons why you might be attractive. 3 attractive qualities in yourself, or 3 things you would have to offer the opposite sex. Like 3, attractive qualities if someone was to go on a date with you. Like 3 reasons someone might want to fucking date you. And you'll realize that there's, we can tell either story. You're ugly, and maybe there's some evidence for that. Some girl in a bar called you ugly. Some other girl didn't want to date you. Sure, I'm sure you've got evidence. There's other evidence for the opposite story of like, I'm attractive, people will like me, there are people out there that would want to date me, I just have to go play the numbers game, hit on a lot of people, be upfront and honest, and find the ones that like me. They're both just stories. We can tell whichever fucking story we want, but I just know if I tell that story or believe other people's stories about me that are maybe negative, like I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, whatever fucking stories they come up with, if I just take on those opinions and those emotions and those stories, I feel shit. But if I try and tell a different story that, I'm lovable, that people will like me, that I can do a good job, that I can go out there and make some money or build a business or whatever it is that I might be working on, if I believe that story, I'm a lot more empowered. I'm way more likely to take some fucking action. This, by the way, is everything I talk about in the Play to Win video course. I literally talk about playing to win versus playing not to lose. In other words, focusing on the positive stories rather than focusing on the negative stories. And I even have an entire chapter in the video course, this one here on the screen, called Everything is a Story, and you're in control of the stories that you tell. And I literally talk about exactly what I'm talking about here. I also have this chapter called Everything That Happens to Me is Good, and I talk about how I choose, and it is a choice, I choose to view everything through a positive lens. I choose to see the silver lining in everything. I choose to be an optimist. And that doesn't mean being delusional and ignoring reality. No, quite the opposite. It means going hunting a little deeper, a little bit under the surface, and events that you're tempted to say are bad or wrong or horrible or they suck or whatever. Can you look a little bit below the surface and find some hidden good? Can you find a hidden silver lining? Can you find some way to benefit from this thing? There's a saying, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. Can I find that opportunity? So again, this is the Play to Win video course. There is a link down below where you can grab that. But yeah, guys, you don't have to take on the burden of other people's stories or their opinions or their emotions just because they want you to. You are allowed to tell whatever fucking story you would like. If any of you would like any more help with this, I will probably direct you towards the Abundance Collective, our $200 a month community. We've got a bunch of other coaches in there that will absolutely kick your ass into gear, help you build the life of your goddamn dreams. We have a video library, a lot of content in there to support you. We've got a bunch of members in there already, achieving big goals, kicking ass. And here's a testimonial from one of the guys that's in there at the moment. And I had done a coaching call with this guy a while ago, actually. And he says, I had one talk, as in one coaching call with Andy some time ago last year, and it really opened my eyes in relation to how I saw myself and women. I've had crazy adventures, more threesomes than I can count. And since that call, I've had other adventures with other women, super pretty women, that in the past I would consider out of my league. What an absolute legend. So if you'd like to join this guy, there is a link down below to the Abundance Collective group. You can check out that page and I will jump on a free call with you. We can talk about your goals. I'll give you a bit of free coaching. And then at the end of that, I'll say, do you want to join the Abundance Collective? If you say yes, amazing. If you say no, that is beautiful too. No pressure. I'm not going to use any sales bullshit on you. We'll just have a little chat and see what you want to do. As always, ladies and gentlemen, go out there, crush those goals, have a bloody good time doing it, and you don't have to take on other people's stories and opinions and emotions. You don't have to take on the burden of them.